Bianca.
And I'm Adrian.
And we're two creative women living in New York City going through hella stuff.
And that's why we're here to share and reflect on our crazy experiences, and hopefully you can learn from us.
If not, you can just laugh at us.
In this episode of Women in the Wild,
What are we talking about?
something pretty wild. Dating in the concrete jungle.
Don't even get me started.
Well, let's get started because you got that text. Wait, are we gonna just dive right into it?
What if it's just that? Like, I'm so ready to be disappointed because that's all men do anyway.
Okay, but before we tease, because our audience probably doesn't know what's going on right now,
that's true.
we will be talking about
Like you said,
dating, but more specifically long-term relationships versus like just dating and shorter term relationships.
Yeah. Tindering and hinging and bumbling.
And also the pros and cons of dating
In New York.
online, like and
No,
just
in New York.
in New York,
In New York,
basically. All right, cool. So let's dive right into it.
Okay.
What's your
So
story?
the fun thing about this lovely episode is that we're gonna talk about our personal lives. Yay!
What's
And I mean, this whole podcast is new.
Yes, that's right. Welcome.
But yeah, we're unfortunately gonna talk about some personal examples, and I'm gonna start. So basically, I'm the single person who's Tindering and hinging and bumbling. Well, we're both single, but I'm the one doing that for longer.
Yeah, I mean, in your earlier 20s, you were mostly dating, and in my earlier 20s, I've just been in a 3-year relationship, like we
Exactly.
talked about in the previous podcast episode.
So yeah, my most recent, this was Tinder actually. This is the only Tinder date I've been in. Cause Tinder, sorry, I'm still stuffy, guys.
Okay, update. Bianca's still sick, and you still have not heard her real voice up to this episode.
This is closer to my real voice.
Okay, we're
but
getting
I
closer.
just like interrupt my own self with my nose at times. Anyway, yeah, so I tried Tinder. We should totally keep the time.
Yep.
I tried Tinder for the first time a few months ago. Not even, maybe a month ago. Because I had tried Bumble. Pretty successful, actually. I am on Hinge now. Don't know yet if it's successful. But I was like, you know what? I've never done like a classic Tinder. And that's like the classic dating
I think
app
I was one of the
where-
people who convinced you to
think
get on
so.
Tinder too.
You're like, you have to go on at least 5 Tinder dates. I didn't do that. I'm way too impatient for that. But I did go on 3. And the latest one is an interesting one because this guy was a very interesting guy.
Spill the tea, sis.
So we're going to use code names just in case, some certain people.
Just to keep respect out there, you know.
Yeah, and they probably will listen.
Anonymity.
Anyway, the code name for this person is Thor because I think he looked like Thor when he was in specific
Yes.
angles.
He did, but he doesn't deserve all that credit. So yes, only in specific angles.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this guy is that I think a main theme here was mixed signals.
Right.
Just to keep myself on track. Was mixed signals, because we basically went on 3 dates, which is so sad that I'm spending so much time on talking about a guy I went on 3 dates in, but there was a lot involved. Okay, the first date was great. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's so different, and he's like no one I've met before, and wow. And
he was
he's also-
really good at texting.
He was really good at texting, which is huge for me, which
Yeah.
is so lame, but I'm a texter, so
No, it's not lame. That's to each their own. You gotta
Yeah.
own it. At least you know it.
yeah, I know
Yeah.
if you can't text me, like, if you're not gonna text me in like 3 days, I'm not gonna feel okay. That sounds bad.
But that's fair. It's
Anyway.
not snail mail ages anymore.
So
like,
he was doing a great texting game, before the date. Actually, the thing that caught me first was his bio on his Tinder profile, because he's cute, and I like really got into him after I met him in person. But his photos were like average. They were like, okay, But then I read his bio and it was so funny, and I love funny guys. And I'm like, you have the best bio I've ever read on Tinder. And that's how it all started. Anyway, then I gave him my number. We exchanged Instagrams, you know, the whole thing. Anyway, met
How many
him.
days did you talk on Instagram before you actually set a date?
Remember, maybe a week.
A week? Okay.
Anyway, I met him. He was way cuter in person than in his photos.
Good.
And I was like, and before that, the 2 other Tinder dates that were they Tinder? Well, it doesn't matter. The 2 other, let's say, blind dates that I had before that were the opposite. Like, they looked better in the photos. And then when I saw them in person, I was like, okay,
Almost like catfishing.
I guess I'll deal with what I have. Like, they weren't ugly, but their photos were more promising. So I'm saying, but this case,
Savage.
it flipped, and I was like, I'm pleasantly surprised that you look pretty great in person, you know?
And he was texting good. Like, he's texting you
yeah.
well.
And oh my gosh, major turn on / aphrodisiac in general is when a guy has good vocabulary. Like,
grammar, yeah.
the whole conversation was spectacular. I was like Googling words during the date because I was like, this guy's vocabulary is way better than mine. And it went great. Long story short. Second date, in my head this whole time, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna take things slow. I don't mind like seeing a guy kind of, this sounds bad, but I didn't want to dive into a relationship necessarily. Like, I was okay with just seeing him every now and then and see where it goes. And that was like my mentality.
Yeah.
But in the second date, he tells me, I don't know what we were talking about or if he just mentioned it casually, but the point of the matter is, he had told his family about me. In this second date already, and I was like, oh, so your sister knows about me. And he was like, oh yeah, I told my sister I'm dating you. And
It's also fair to say that they live in the same apartment.
but also his brother knew.
Right, yeah.
He doesn't live with his brother.
And he mentioned you by name.
And he mentioned me by name, like he was on the phone. But this was the third date. The whole phone thing that I was gonna say, so I'll save that for later. But anyway, he basically told me that he told about me to his sister, his brother, and some of his close friends, and I was really taken off guard. I was like, I was actually hoping we could take this slow, but at the same time, of course, you're flattered.
Of
And
course,
in my
yeah,
head,
because
I'm
this was
like,
different. Like you said, it was like you've gone on 3 other dates before with 2 different people, so it's like, and they haven't really been the best experience. So now it's like, oh, it's refreshing.
Yeah.
This guy's.
It was refreshing.
Yeah.
That's not what you expect from a Tinder date. From a Tinder date, all you can expect is, hey, you want to come to my place, you know?
Yes. Lately.
So this guy was different in that sense, and at first I was a little bit thrown off, like, oh my gosh, like, is this too fast? Like, what's going on? I don't even know if I like him that much. But then I was like, hold on, Bianca, you know that you've been waiting for this kind of thing for a while, so stop all this judgment and enjoy it and be flattered and say thank you, and if he's into you, then enjoy that. So I did that, and I was like, okay, I think I really like this guy, because there was nothing wrong happening, and I really liked his vocabulary.
Yeah.
And he looked great, and everything looked great. Yeah. So third date, my new mentality.
Backtrack. On the first and second date, he was also not expecting you to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, it was all conversational.
And guys, when I tell you that I'm feeling this guy, I really am. Like, I made a few moves, you know, here and there. And the guy stopped me, and he was like, you know what? I want to take this seriously. I want to take this slow. Let's wait. Bruh, Tinder? That doesn't happen.
Exactly. So
That
anyway,
doesn't happen.
back to the third date. So now you're on the third date.
So now I'm on the third date. At this point, I'm like, oof, I think I really like this guy. Also, he's not way, but he's like, he's older than me by like a bit.
Not that much, yeah.
And I'm like, you know, he's mature. He's like wanting to take things seriously. He has shown me how much into me he is. Oh, his birthday was coming up, and he invited me to his birthday to like meet his family and friends. And I was like, damn, I like won the freaking lottery right now, right?
And then
Wait, I can't even like. I need to organize my thoughts. Oh wait, the third date was actually good, but
Okay.
the third date.
That was the date that you treated him for his birthday?
Yeah, I treated him for his birthday. So the whole point about the third date is that my mentality changed, and I was like, okay, I'm in. Like he has shown me that he wants this, and I am in. That's where I'm at. So long story short, I'm a filmmaker, so and I'm freelancing as of recently. So gigs come like super randomly sometimes, and I got a gig that weekend, the weekend of his birthday, and it was a full day and night thing. So even though I had already in my head said, oh yes, I'm definitely going to his birthday party, turns out I can't.
Yeah.
So I tell him
Work first.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I tell him like, hey, so I really thought about it, and yes, I want to meet all these people, and I think you're great, and I really like you. Also, we said we like each other at this point, and like I really like you, which is not the same as I like you.
Yeah.
But I can't come because I got this film I'm gonna be
It was an
working
amazing
on.
opportunity where you were also going to learn a lot of things on
Yeah.
set because it was an independent film.
Yeah,
right?
so he understood that, and it was fine. So me being the super loving person that I am, sometimes over loving, when I finished my gig, I text him, I'm like, hey, how's the birthday going? And he's like, oh, we're almost wrapping up, whatever. And I'm like, hey, do you want to come over since we didn't get to see each other and it's your birthday? Like, I'm just treating him. And I even bought a bottle of wine. It's still there. 'Cause I
Oh,
was
it is? Oh, that's what you were
That's-
offering me? We're both sick, so we're on medication and we can't drink alcohol right now.
But I was
so-
offering Adrian this wine that I bought for this guy earlier. So anyway, I was like so ready to see him, and I was like trying to make him still see me because
Keep him interested,
Because
yeah.
I thought he wanted that. I mean, he freaking invited me to his birthday, and he said no, and that's fine. But he had already said no on previous time too, and I was like, you know, after your gig, you kind of want to come home to someone or whatever. And I just really wanted to see him. And also it's his birthday, obviously. So I was upset. But an upset in like a, oh, I wish I could see you. Not upset like angry. Anyway, I say, I'm upset. I literally text him saying like, I'm upset.
I've seen the screenshot, yes,
Yeah.
that's what she sent.
And I said it nicely because after saying I'm upset, I said, but this night is about you, so just focus on having fun. It's fine. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah. About to sneeze, and I'm trying not to. Okay, I'm good. Whew.
Guys, that was the end of the relationship. And I know that sounds really weird, but after that text where I said I'm upset and that I hope he has fun, regardless, he never got back to me. And I was like, that's odd. Like the next day didn't get back to me. I'm like, that's odd, but I'll give him some time. Then the next day happened, then the next day happened, then the next day happened, then
What
the
a
next
long
day
week.
happened. I was like, what the hell is going on? Is he alive? And he was alive because he saw my Instagram story. And the next day happened, and he just never got back to me. So I think it was the 5th day or 6th, I don't know. I texted him and I'm like, hey, I just said hey, and he replied like, hey. And apparently he had a fever, so he said, oh, I have a fever, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I hope you feel better, blah, blah. But then I'm like, getting right to it. So are you still interested in talking to me? Or did it throw you off that I said I was upset the other day? And apparently it did. It did throw him off, and he said he thought we were going too fast. Which is funny because the only thing that I have done is said I'm upset. The things that he has done is told his whole family and close group of friends that he's dating Bianca. Like, who's the one running fast here, you know? So it was so
that's
weird.
Going back to why you told the story is like the mixed signals, right? That's why.
Yes.
So that's where the mixed signals thing started,
Exactly.
like
So I'm
really
like,
showing itself.
I thought that's what you wanted, first of all, to go fast because you really like me. Second of all, saying you're upset is not going fast. It's just saying how you feel.
Exactly. You're upset that you
And
didn't get to see him.
I say that to friends. I say that to... It's just like a normal human conversation. So I don't see how that in his head translated into, oh my gosh, this girl is moving too fast. I gotta like back out. I really don't get it to this day. But that's the story of Thor. And that's my latest dating app story. And it hurt because, like I said, I really liked him, but I kind of move on fast. So I cried for a whole day, and then I was like, okay.
Yes, that was the day that I came over here to your apartment and we did your laundry. I went with you to the salon to get your hair done.
My therapy is getting my hair done, so I was like, you want to come with me to the hair salon?
So I really did, yeah.
Oh, and then we did laundry together.
And then we did laundry, yeah.
That's therapy right there.
Exactly. That's all you need is just to like clean and
So
like.
I'm not sure what the lesson here is, but
The lesson is just have no expectations.
and I
In
guess
the very, very beginning.
I guess-
Just be patient.
you know what a lesson here is though, that a guy talking about you to his close friends and family
Doesn't mean anything.
I mean, it can, but I guess you can't assume it that it means something. I guess you gotta. Which is funny because we also talked about.
No, we talked about it because I was like, maybe for
No, I
him it's
mean-
not a big deal, or.
I mean, me and him. We
Oh,
talked
you
about
did.
it.
What did he say?
I told him this was the third date, the one that I paid for the whole dinner.
Oh yeah.
I was like, so do you think we're moving too fast? Because you already told your family and friends about me. Like, I haven't even told my best friend about you. Like, and he was like, well, yeah, it is a bit fast, but I feel good. If you want to slow down, we can. And I'm like, no, I'm good. But like, we had that conversation.
Yeah.
So I still don't get why me saying I'm upset threw him off so much. But it's,
I mean,
it's
he
whatever.
also just did get a promotion. There's also a lot of like change and adjustment going on in his life. Let's not give him too much credit, but at the end of the day, he should have just texted you back and not made you wait like 5 days, especially when he has time to go on his Instagram to go check
My
stories. You know, it shouldn't, you know, I mean, I guess ghosting is a thing, but I mean, as much as possible, the best advice is to not ghost.
Yeah, and also take your time to know a person, because at the end of the day, we did go only on 3 dates.
Exactly.
They were like very packed dates emotionally, but still take your time to know the person. Because
Pace
I think that's
yourself.
also why I was able to like not hurt that much, is because I don't really know him, you know?
Yeah, at the
I
end
think
of the
I
day.
like him, but I don't really know much about his life.
Yeah.
So Adrian, now that I told you a story about my love life, why don't you
Exactly.
tell me a story about your love life?
My story about my love life. It's very different from yours. Gosh, my latest dating story is a 3-year relationship. Right.
True.
That's like the latest, like.
The latest, most relevant?
Yeah, latest, most relevant. But it comes with like a short backstory. Okay, so I'm gonna go through my notes so that I don't get like sidetracked.
Story time with Adrian Galvez.
Story time. All right, with Bianca and Adrian, women in the wild. All right. So, and these are actually things that you don't know about me yet.
Okay, I'm so excited.
So,
Hit me.
backstory: before I moved to New York City, I lived in the Philippines. So I graduated college in
Right.
Manila, and then in 2016, and I moved to New Jersey first.
So you came to New York in 2016?
I did.
Damn, I'm more of a New Yorker than you are.
Yes, you are exactly.
I don't know why I'm so proud of that.
No, it's a thing. So anyway, so I graduated college, but before I settled to New Jersey, which is where I first moved, I went to San Francisco first for like this. Oh, actually, no, I went to Las Vegas because every 2 years my family on my mom's side has like this giant reunion. So every year it gets hosted in like the West Coast.
Okay.
So either it happens in like San Francisco or in LA, but that year it happened to be Vegas, and I was turning 21 that year, so it was perfect. It worked out. So
Yeah, crazy.
and like backstory is that when I left for the Philippines, I had a boyfriend. I left and went
What
into
was
a
his
long
name?
distance relationship.
Or his fake name.
His fake name.
Oh,
I can't think of one.
if he's not that important in the story, it's okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, we dated for 1.5 years almost. Yeah, so that's my other pattern, is that I'm constantly in like these long-term, like at least a year-long relationship. I think I've only been in like 3 relationships where it was like less than like 3 months or something. But yeah, so I left Manila and I had a boyfriend with me. Like I had a boyfriend,
So
but we did it long distance
Okay.
for about like 6 months, and then we broke up. So that was around like.
That's a good like average time for long distance relationships to last.
Yeah, I couldn't do more than 6 months because it like was like, first of all, he knew all throughout when I was in college that I was moving to the States that was my plan all along. So that was my disclaimer, is that when I was dating in college, was that, look, would you be okay dating me because I'm going to be moving to the States? This is my plan. Like, I'm not gonna let you stop me. Like, I'm still moving.
Women in the wild.
Yes, because New York's always been a goal. I mean, I lived in New Jersey before. I just moved around a lot growing up. So, yeah, I actually was in a relationship when I moved back here. But shortly after, I think a month, not even, maybe a couple weeks after I broke up with that guy, I then dated Joey.
You met him, where were you at this point?
So, good question. So when I finally,
in New York.
we did. We met in
you
person.
Just said his real name.
We've been saying his real name.
Okay.
I mean, so let's just keep
a real name.
It's a real name. And maybe it's a fake name. You guys never know. His name could be Richard. Alex or Dick. His name could also be Blake. It could also be. Let's name all my roommates: Manny, Alberto, like all the men, Jesse. Let's just name them all. But before I moved to New York, I lived in New Jersey with my mom for like 6 months and I worked in New Jersey for a bit, but then like from before, I told you I don't really have like a good relationship with my mother. Like I've cut off my mom, and it's been about 3 years. So shortly after I moved out, I moved to New York. I got a job in New York City, and then shortly after I was like, I got to establish myself here, so let me go like enroll in some classes. So then I went to this like school that held an event, and then Joey was the MC in that event. We met.
Question. What was your job? Your first job?
My first job in New Jersey. Oh my gosh.
Wait, I thought you said New York. This is New Jersey?
Oh yeah, because I lived. Sorry, this is getting confusing. Graduated college, moved to. Like traveled for a bit, went to like LA, Vegas, San Francisco, like even Chicago, and then I stopped by in New Jersey, lived with my mom for 6 months.
Got it.
Worked in New Jersey as a billing specialist, oh my gosh, at a private pharmaceutical company. Not a lot of people know this about me. I don't even put it on my LinkedIn because it was such an insignificant, like right out of college role. That it was busy work. It was very mundane, like routine work. Like you don't even think about it. Like you click buttons. First job out of college. So back to Joey. So moved. I took classes in New York, and then I got the job in New York also. So I was really like networking, putting myself out there because I wanted to move out and away from my mom. And yeah, so I met Joey. His move was, oh, you're a new student, let me put in my details. And I can show you in my, and he wrote it in the notes app too. Like it wasn't like, what's your number? I can pull up the exact time that Joey and I met because he wrote his details in the notes app on my iPhone. He put like resources and links of like where you can learn coding and all these things.
Do you think knowing Joey, do you think he did that because he was trying to like be helpful? Because he's kind of like that. Or do you think that was a move? Okay,
so that one was being helpful. The move was he cleaned my glasses for me.
Okay.
And that was the move. He was like, your glasses are so dirty, and let me clean them for you. And so I was like, sure. And he tried them on, and like that whole thing. And later on, flirty. And later on, I figured out that he actually did mean to do that, and that he was totally flirting with me. And at first, I was like so like stupid and dense, right? Because I'm like, I'm here for school. I'm like just so naive. I'm 20, I'm 21. Like just moved to the city. Like I don't know what I'm doing. Really, like this is why like it's good to have girlfriends older than you, younger than you, because I was really naive. I think the keyword is naive. Luckily, he was a really nice guy. Didn't take advantage of the situation. Yeah. Was really actually trying to be helpful. And that was the beginning of a 3-year relationship. It started with that.
What was your first date?
Our first date, we went to Mama's Bar in the Lower East Side, so near where he lived. And it was kind of cool that was like where our first date was, because like backstory is how we actually ended up getting along was that we were both raised by our grandparents. We were the eldest of 3 kids. We just had a lot of like common things, and that's what like drew me to him. And I guess like why, I mean, people are probably wondering like, well, now she's single, like he sounds really great, and he is, you know, like
things change.
But things change, and not like it didn't turn like sour or anything. I think because I was also, you know, I think we had like about a 5-6 year age difference.
No. Honestly, I think the thing with Joe and you was like life.
Yeah, no, we just really did grow apart.
The stuff he's going through is like really tough stuff.
I mean, we all go through tough stuff, but it's just like we were just not on the same page anymore, and just things weren't aligned. And also like the second I moved into New York, I was already in a relationship with him. So I've never actually been single in New York. And
you've never been a woman in the wild.
I've never been really a woman in the wild in the concrete jungle.
So many.
Yeah. But yeah, now I be wildin'.
Okay.
This word's gonna get overused so quickly. But yeah, it was kind of crazy how like when I moved into the city, I moved here. I got my apartment, and like and then like halfway through the relationship, I moved in with him too. So like a lot of it like went really fast. I think, I mean, 3 years is a long time, also really short if you think about it. But yeah, that was the start of like the 3-year relationship.
So is there more to this story that you want to tell us?
Not really. I mean, that was just like the backstory mostly. And it's like, I guess the lesson that I learned, or like why I chose to like be single now is, you know, I kind of lost myself for a little bit, like to get a little bit more serious, is that like, I didn't really, like now that I'm not in that relationship, and a lot of things happened in between along the way too that contributed to this, but kind of taking a few steps back from it kind of made me realize like, oh, like I actually have a lot of things to accomplish myself. You know, Joey right now is primarily taking care of his grandfather, and as much as like I was able to help in the beginning, it became, you know, it didn't, you know, like you want to help so much, but then you're also like only able to do so much that you get caught up in it and you feel, you know, kind of obligated to. So there was a lot of that too. But yeah, I kind of lost myself for a bit there, and plus like we lived together. So a lot of like the routines were super different. Now it's just like, I don't have to think about anybody else for once. It's kind of nice. It's kind of freeing. It's also kind of lonely, but at the end of the day, it's like,
you have me and
I have you. Yes, and we're doing this podcast, and there's like more passion projects coming up, and traveling also along the way. So yeah, that's kind of like the backstory of what it is to be in like a 3-year relationship.
Similarities between our both stories are that we noticed in both relationships that there was something that we needed that was not being provided, and that something is really important to us. I'm not saying that whoever you're with has to provide everything that you need,
of course,
but there are essential things, like for example, me, if I can't tell you how I'm feeling and talk about that, I don't see the point of the relationship. Like if there's no good communication, especially about feelings, like relationships are such an emotional thing. If that's not there, then I can already see down the road how it's gonna crumble down. So I'm the kind of person who's just gonna be like, let's cut the cord right there. I'm not getting involved in this. And with you felt like you needed space, and you needed to be you, and you didn't have that. Like all you had was Joey. You were never in the city by yourself, like just doing your own thing.
And just to give a background, like I don't actually have like family here in the city. It was when I moved here, I literally cut off my mom, and that was it. That was like all my family. I mean, now I've started to reintroduce like my brothers into my life now that they're older, but otherwise, like at that phase in my life, I had like no one. So I clung on to him, and it became this thing. And it could be dangerous. Yeah, exactly. Like I guess for those who, you know, because we're not all native New Yorkers, a lot of us moved to New York. And I think the danger of like moving to a new city, and the big lesson in this is that in order to like it's so cliche, right? In order to like love yourself, I mean, in order to love somebody else, you have to like love yourself and like know what you want first, and to kind of
talk
be
about self-love in the upcoming episode.
yeah, and like why you would also deserve that kind of reciprocation in return. You know, like you're working on yourself, so then in turn you can be like loved, I guess, or you know, because you're feeding into your own self, and so yeah, and I felt like I never really gave myself that moment. It was like, oh yay, here's this person who's capable of nurturing me, loving me, taking care of me, being my person, being my emergency contact even. Because a lot of people, like when I first moved here, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have anybody to put down, and these are required.
Yeah.
Okay, and I had no one. Like that was the most isolated I had ever felt in my entire life, and it actually like was like jarring to like remember that. It's like, holy shit, I had like no one to put down.
I'm so glad that you met so many people along the
And then
way.
now, like, I move away for
This girl's
4
full of
months.
friends, guys.
Yeah, I move away for 4 months, and then I'm reminded, like, oh shit, I like built something here. Like, I have people, but it took 3 years. And I think that's why I was like ready, because it was like, oh, 3 years I've built myself, and it's like, it sucks because then you have to like cut off certain things in order for you to grow, but that's like the fucking truth.
You want some tea?
Yeah.
All right, now.
Okay.
And then, this is totally going off topic, but now I'm actually curious. When did you meet Alex? Because Alex is a really big person in your life too.
So Alex, I met, okay, so I found my
Alex
apartment.
is a girl, by the way.
Alex
It's
is
like
a girl,
one of her best
Alexandra.
friends. Yeah. So I know that Alex is a friend we have in common, so since she was alone all this time, and that's what she's saying, I'm like, so where did Alex come in?
So that's the other
Like when
thing.
I met you, you weren't that alone, so I'm just wondering.
I actually wasn't, but I guess when you like get into a relationship, that becomes your world, and then you forget
Oh, yeah.
about everybody.
I've been there.
And like I totally fell into that. Like I you know, when you're young and alone in a new city, you cling on to like the next person that really gives you all their attention, and Joey was that for me at the time.
Yeah, I get it.
You know. So
yeah.
but what was I saying? I forget.
No, you just got really caught up in how alone you felt.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess that's the thing. Like, when you get into a relationship, it's just to, like you said, even in the beginning when you were first talking about it, just pace yourself. Because, you know, I could have actually had more friends and, like, a more stable life had I shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? In hindsight. But at the end of the day, it was like...
Well, you were super young.
I was super young. But
Wait, 21? 22?
21, yeah, 21. So it was kind of like... It was almost kind of like a move out of like desperation, but also like you wouldn't think about it in that moment because the person's treating you so well.
Yeah.
And you're enjoying, and it's a new city. And there's so many things to do in New York City. And
yeah, and I just thought of something, and maybe we can talk about this more extensively in another episode.
Yeah.
But I think I have a theory right now, because what you're explaining to me is exactly what happened to me when I was in the 1-year relationship, in the only real serious relationship that I've been in. I got so caught up in that relationship, and I see a common thread here. The guy that I was dating was a super nice guy.
Yeah.
And Joey's a super nice guy. So I think there's a nice guy thing here. It's like the nice guy trap. Don't fall into the nice guy trap, girls.
Not just nice
They're
guy,
nice,
but like
but they don't have to be in your world.
Nurturing and just like, yeah, no, like you would wish for a guy like that, but you have to be a stable person in yourself to like maintain that, because otherwise you get sucked in. You know.
By the way, I don't do heroin.
She doesn't do drugs.
I just noticed all this.
Yes.
I'm like, people are probably wondering. Oh, for the listeners out there,
Bianca has a bunch of like circle band-aids around her, but that's
in
because
both
of
arms,
your
and it looks like I was doing heroin or injecting drugs
to your
earlier,
system.
and that's not what's happening. I went to the doctor today, and shit went down.
Yeah. But you're okay.
Yeah.
Yes, today was a day of self-care in the beginning of it, which is good.
It was a very long overdue doctor's visit. Therefore, they did all the things.
Exactly. Good. One stop and done.
Yeah.
But I guess we're gonna move on to our next topic. We went
do you
through.
have a question? No. Do you have a question for me?
Yeah. Back to what you were talking about in part 1 of our podcast. You were talking about the text that came in.
Oh, we're talking
Yes.
about? Okay.
About Thor. And my question is, do you think it's okay to continue being friends with somebody you've dated?
I think it is possible if both people really don't want anything romantic with each other anymore. I think that can fail really badly when you're lying to yourself about that. But if you both really understand that it didn't work out for a reason and you're not interested in pursuing that again, it can be possible.
I think I agree, but only if like a certain time has passed, and that one is relative to dependent on the person, right? Because it's hard to be friends.
It is
I
hard.
think it's easier
I
to
put myself
be
in hard situations.
and like I don't know, and this is my follow-up question, and like maybe our audience can answer this for us, and like in our Instagram. So our Instagrams are gonna be linked in the comment or in the description. But I guess you guys can let us know, like, is it easier to be friends with an ex who you've dated for longer or like shorter?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right? Because
I've tried the long one and it didn't work out, but it's because he had feelings for me.
yeah. Because I feel like you can be friends with him because there wasn't like anything really that happened yet.
Yeah, and we didn't get into
Nothing
physical
sexual,
stuff.
yeah.
So it's not gonna start as friends.
Exactly. So
Well, we'll get basically a little bit of a backstory. I texted Thor today saying if he wants to be friends, because I already know I don't want to get into that romantic.
and during the
again.
podcast he responded. We
Yeah.
saw a response.
And
so.
we went crazy. Maybe we'll have that little bit.
In the beginning, maybe in the
When I
end.
freak out.
We'll link it in the end.
Because the camera was still on
Yeah.
and our mics were still on when I received the text, and I
Yeah.
kind of went crazy for a little bit.
Yeah, so stay tuned till the end of the podcast to see
hear
that
me
clip.
scream.
Or if you're listening, head on over to our YouTube channel so that you can see.
Bianca going crazy.
Yes, actually both of us, because I was so happy because we've literally been talking about this since
Before
today.
you got here.
Because she was consulting with me about what the text you were gonna send would be. All right, so we're gonna move on to our last
Part 2.
part, which was pros and cons of dating in NYC.
By the way, that is a wild thing, guys. Dating in New York City is pretty freaking wild. And Adrian and I have a few pros and cons
Yeah.
about what it's like to date here based on our experience.
I think also like it's wild for us to date in NYC because we both didn't grow up in NYC.
True.
So a lot of like the cultural differences that we went through is kind of like a shock to us coming in here. I guess we can start with like one is like independence. Here like people have their own apartments. Like people don't live with their parents. Whereas
That's
like
a pro.
that's
Yeah, that's a pro.
yeah, that people are independent here.
Yeah.
So like if you want to go to somebody's house, you're not like, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Mom and Dad. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
We're going to go upstairs.
But also, I'm here for your son. Actually, I'm only gonna spend 90%, 99.9% of the time in his bedroom. So I'll see you when I leave.
Exactly. And that's how it is. It feels like high school dating in Manila because a lot of people do still live at home. Is it
Yeah.
the same in DR?
Yeah, so I'm from DR, as I explained in the first episode. And yeah, the culture there is very family based. It's very conservative. So most people live with their parents until they get married, basically. So if you're dating and you want to visit that special someone,
There are obstacles.
they're with mom and dad. And if mom and dad are strict, which most are in DR, you can't go to their bedroom. Like you have to be in the living room like this, watching TV.
Let me tell you, if you go home in the Philippines and you're already living together here in New York, you're still basically staying in separate bedrooms when you come home to Manila. It's like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to give you an idea. So that's, I guess, why it's super wild for us
But
to
I
date
was
here in New
gonna
York
say,
City.
that's the pro of people having independence here. But having independence here and being able to go to someone's house that easily and doing whatever you want can also be a con, because there's a very lack of commitment in this city.
There is.
That's a major con here. I feel like everyone is so chill about relationships. No one is serious. No one wants to commit. And I think a reason is...
If you're a person who doesn't want to commit, come to New York City and you'll be fine.
Exactly. And I think the reason why that's so prevalent here is because people come to New York mostly because they have a dream or they have like a career path that they want to follow or whatever. So there's a lot of come and go to the city and like come here to do like a job for 1 to 3 years and then go to somewhere else. So people are not here to like stay and like create a family and like commit to your girlfriend or boyfriend, and you know, it's more like I'm here to work.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cases of guys I've dated that are like so into their work they can't even freaking go on dates. So it's like, why are we dating?
Exactly. Well, I don't know. What's the lesson in that, right? I guess. And it's like so weird because like when you go on a date, you can't say, it's so weird like, oh, I'm looking for like a serious relationship. You're kind of just, that's how it is dating in New York. People are so like just dipping their toes. Like if you're gonna say you want a serious relationship, tell me. Or if like this is just for fun, tell me.
Yeah, I think either
people are
is
so
good.
Vague.
Either is good. Like I've been in a relationship where we both know from the very start that this is not something serious and we're just doing a few things. And it goes perfect. Like I'm not expecting anything, we're not calling each other, like, and maybe we are, but at the end of the day we know what we are like doing with each other.
Yes.
You know? So, and that's totally fine with me. But the bad thing is most people don't admit that. And they're like pretending that they want a relationship.
Exactly.
And no one is clear about what's happening. And then there's heartbreak, and then you expect something, but they can't give you that. And yeah.
Yeah. So in short, like just don't pretend. I guess it's hard because it's like I just got out of a relationship, right? And then I wanted to go on Tinder like almost immediately just to kind of see what's out there. And then when I got on it, I started going on these dates, and then I actually ended up speaking with my aunt who's like older, and she said, so what do you really want out of this? Like, do you even know what you want? And I was like, I don't actually know what I'm doing. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, I actually don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of like swiping left and right because it's so easy. We have so many choices, right? It's a pro and a con. Like so many choices that like you're so overwhelmed. Like you can just literally get anybody. You can even get a date on the same day in New York City.
Yeah.
You get it same date. That's a pro and a con.
Because it's so easy. Like
it's too easy
that people
sometimes.
don't take it seriously.
But also it's so hard. Anyway. Yeah.
Another bad thing about New York dating is weather. And with weather, I think sometimes comes laziness. So
people get
especially
flaky.
in the winter.
People get flaky. With the subways being on and off or like in service or blah blah blah, then it gets to be like, oh, the subway's running late and blah blah blah, so then I can't make it anymore and this and that.
Depending on how committed this guy or girl or whatever is, they're gonna be flaky.
Exactly.
It's easy to be flaky.
Yeah. So those are like some. Let's end on a pro. I guess it's also really good. Well, two things. There's lots to do in New York City, and because it's such a diverse area and it's a dense area, people are like more sex positive. You know, people like to express themselves more. There's more choices in terms of like people and things to do. So yeah. I guess when you come to New York, come with an open mind, pace yourself, and just don't forget.
If you're gonna be doing risky things, because there's a lot of that in New York. There's a lot of services for that in New York.
Exactly. And I guess also like diversify your portfolio in terms of like people, not just guys, because that's what I did. When I got here, I was like, oh, a relationship is what I need because a relationship is stable and I can find that. I can find stability in a relationship, so let me keep this relationship. And what ended up happening is 3 years. Of lots of lessons and good times. So yeah, that's where we're gonna end this podcast. But we'll see you guys in episode 3. Can you believe it? We're on episode 3.
And teaser, we may or may not be talking more about some personal stories.
Exactly. So stay tuned next week, guys, and we'll see you next week. Wednesday, yes. Women in the Wild on Wednesdays. WWW, people.
What do you mean?
Women Wild Wednesdays.
Oh!
Bianca's done. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Bye.